We will start from the beginning. Party leading, camp creation, etiquette. There are two flavors of categories of party. Okay, there's BZNMs and missions, and there's experience parties, which are typically comprised of like traditional parties and what are called burns. BZNMs and missions are their own beasts, and I'm not going to cover job combinations or considerations or strategies for any BCNM. Just not. You can go look at the innumerable wiki pages that are out there, both past and current. I almost said past and future. I don't think you have that capability. I'm assuming not. And have it explain to you, BCNM explain, these are the jobs that work well for this. This is why. This is a general strategy. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk about the second flavor, aka chocolate, of experience parties, which is traditional and burns. So burns typically involve a puller of some description, like a thief or a ninja or anyone willing to do it. Anyone that's able to pick up a rock and throw it. Oh my god. I still can never really tell like how loud my music should be. I just lowered it a little bit. I think that it's around where I would want it to be. I'm gonna lower it one more tick. I feel like that might be actually making it too low, but you know, I'll figure that out in post, won't I? They typically involve a puller, a thief, a ninja, anyone willing to do it, anyone capable of picking up a rock and throwing it at an enemy in order to pull it over to the party. 1 to 2 summoners, and 3 to 4 black mages. The puller grabs the thing, and then once the thing gets to the party, it gets nuked to hell by the black mages, and then the summoners basically are just there for spring water and to do a little bit more chip damage, really, or to create like on-demand skill chains that the black mages can exploit. That's what it is. That's what the 3 hours to 3 to 4 hours of partying that you're going to experience if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, do you want to do a burn at this location at this time? And then you basically have to respond to them like, sir, this is a Wendy's. I'm interested, but not right now. I'll have to pass. Most, if not all of my experience is in the other half, the traditional parties. I've done maybe 2 or 3 burns in the entirety of my time playing with this game, aka entirely too long. Burn parties are typically very high experience. So if you don't mind the general mouthfeel of a burn party, then you're gonna be able to do laps around me in traditional parties all the way up to 75. Traditional parties are what have always interested me. The idea of combining 5 perfect strangers and their particular skill sets and abilities and equipment of all varying flavors and types and extremities to like make a beautiful, I don't know, dead monster sandwich. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here on this earth to do. It's talking about this game that's old enough to smoke, drink, vote, and enlist is traditional parties. So you have your different parts of the food group. I don't know why I keep referring to food over and over again. I ate. I have coffee. I'm good on those fronts. You have a puller, which is anyone willing to equip a ranged weapon, law word wrong, and drag things back to the party. You have a tank. You have a healer, typically a sub healer or support, aka somebody that's capable or willing to help as heal as needed, and 3 damage dealers of some description. This guide, as like a cliff note, okay, an asterisk as it were, is intended for people that are brand new to this game. Like they just took off their factory sealed wrapping and they're just trying to throw down with this an interface with party leading, because it's a part of the game that I would say most people have the fewest experience with in general. Even people who have been playing this game for a long time may have never tried to party lead. They'll just sit there with their flag up, even for hours sometimes, especially hours back in the day, when all of us allegedly when we were just like little boys and girls, had way too much time on our hands. That they don't like, it's pretty rare for people to make parties. Like the number of people that are actively trying to make parties is sometimes outstripped, if not often outstripped, by the number of people who are looking for party and just want to get picked up and not think too hard. 54, oh shit, I need to party with you soon. Yeah, currently I'm 52. Also, hello, Hugin. I'm 52, so I'm good to sync to whatever. I'm Nin51. That sounds great. I'll have my people talk to your people, and your people can talk to my people's people, and we'll work something out in post. Absolutely happy to do it. I don't know if you actually have any time in about like 45 minutes or so, but after I'm finished with however long this actually takes, I'm game for whatever. We don't have a lot of schedule overlap. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I figured that. I'm not sure exactly what your time zone is between mine, or like what your general day-to-day is like, but yeah. If it's a struggle for you to party during this typical time period, it might have to be, I don't know, like a weekend thing, whatever that would be. So going back to what I was talking about, puller, tank, healer, sub-healer, support, and 3 damage dealers of some description. Tanks can consist of anyone that's willing to get wailed on for hours. Okay, 2 to 3 hours. True tanks, quote unquote, are typically considered to be paladin, who mitigates damage just by enduring it and dealing it and making sure that they're the ones that are taking the hits and using whatever tools is necessary in order to ensure that continues to be the case. They're not doing any real dodging. The most that they're going to be doing is like parrying or blocking with their shield, which just reduces damage a little bit. The opposite side of the coin is ninjas. Ninjas are tanks by virtue of trying to piss off the enemy through usage of tools. If they are abhorrently well off using shuriken, which are very expensive but are another very overlooked part of their toolkit, and avoiding damage by constantly reapplying their shadows whenever they can. If the enemy is not doing damage to you, then the healer is able to relax a little bit more, which helps with the overall endurance of the party. On-demand tanks are what I would describe to be roles or jobs that are not in most people's minds that a good description or the first thing or job that you would think of when it comes to tanking. That would be warrior, who would either have like an axe and a shield, even though it's extremely rare to see that type of warrior outside of Valkyrim Dunes or especially Quilfam Island, or subbing /nin. They do keep tools and gain tools that help them in a tanky role. Like they have defender, which increases the rate of their shield block and increases their defense at the expense of attack. And barring that, they just try to piss off the enemy as much as possible just by doing damage. They're very good at that, and so /ninning also allows them to throw shadows up occasionally, not often, but occasionally, and lets them dual wield at the same time so that they hit real good. Samurai has an ability to avoid attacks occasionally, and they gain an ability later on called Saigen, which enhances the ability by allowing it to sometimes stick even when it would otherwise naturally wear, and depending on what their equipment is, it can also allow them to counter sometimes. This ability is called Third Eye, where they anticipate an attack, so it's kind of like having a free shadow that you throw on yourself by virtue of just like a job ability that you apply. They also have very high parry and evasion. The one thing that stops most people from thinking of them as a tank is the fact that they do not really wear heavy armor. It's not really something that ever becomes a thing for them. The closest thing is their artifact armor, and I mean, most of the time it's just like cloth, dude. By the time that you get to like 50s or 60s and beyond, you're not going to see defensive values like you would on traditional paladin armor. The on-demand tank that I would consider, but you almost never see. You almost never see it because it's typically not preferable, not considered preferable, not maybe Era, but perhaps Era Plus. Is Monk. So monks have a huge health pool, okay, which isn't necessarily a great thing because it just means more HP needing healed by the traditional healers, right? But they also have a type of damage mitigation that is exclusive to them that is often overlooked, which is called Guard. It functions the same way, or at least on paper the same way, as a Paladin's shield block rate does, and that it doesn't show you any particular animation. Like when you get hit by a monster, normally a bunch of like ketchup comes splurting out, right, and all over the screen and all over everyone's faces. But if you're guarding, that particular visual effect doesn't happen. You just take reduced damage. Their evasion is also pretty good, and they have like a cute amount of parry ability also. Warriors are better at tanking than perhaps most would suggest that they are. Samurai and Monk, I've had Samurai tanks before. Hi, Lissa, you wonderful person. I've had Samurai tanks before, and it's been non-preferred because they take more damage, even considering Third Eye, than you would like your tank to be receiving. But it wasn't the worst ever, and we'll cover atypical party compositions in a bit. But so you have your true tanks, Paladin and Ninja, on-demand tanks, Warrior, Samurai, and Monk. And the one exception to this kind of like tank role is Sky or Bird parties, basically. Between the level 63 and 67, you're able to access this place that's commonly referred to as Sky, otherwise known as Alteu, which is in late stage Chains of Promethea. And once you have access to this area, there's a bunch of birds that are floating around up there. The birds that are up there don't do anything that's particularly damaging. They don't do anything that's particularly weird. They have very limited AoE abilities. They're just kind of there, and they die pretty fast. So in those types of parties, it's not often that there is a dedicated tank pulled into it on purpose. Most of the time, everyone just equips Ninja as a sub job, keeps up shadows, and then they let the monster bounce around as needed all over the place. Like hate will fly all over the place, which is fine on paper, in theory, because everyone has shadows. So you know, if one particular person doesn't have hate for very long, that's fine, because the bird is then just going to move to somebody that may not that may be waiting with like a full suite of shadows. Yeah, so we covered tank roles. We're gonna go to pullers now. Typical pullers would be Thief, because they can flee, which lets them move twice at the normal speed, run around. They can find and collect things easier, or more quickly rather. They have crossbows anyway most of the time to apply debuffs like defense down, and they have pretty high evasion, which lets them dodge pretty consistently. The other is Bard. Songs can't be interrupted by getting hit. They can sleep mobs in order to do something called stage pulling, which is just having the next mob in order, waiting to die for after the current mob dies. I'll turn up the music a little bit. I like the song. Non-typical pullers is people that are likely to have a ranged weapon anyway, and you can always spot check them to be sure, or ask them if it really comes to it. These are Samurai, Dark Knight, Warrior, and Ninja. It's pretty rare for you to have a ninja in a party that's not also expected to tank, but I myself have invited ninjas with the express purpose of pulling, because they have shadows, so that they're not going to be getting slapped around too often or too hard on their way back to the party to kill whatever the next flora or fauna it is there to die, right? General pullers is literally anyone or anything that doesn't need to rely regularly on MP to do their role, and is capable of throwing a rock. do not be confused. Anyone can be a puller. Anyone. Even mages if the situation is dire enough, in which case you should probably, you know, give it a minute and wait to see if if somebody that is capable or willing of pulling would come up instead, because it's not great to expect somebody who's reliant on MP to do their job to also pull at the same time. There is one job that I will categorically say should never pull. Ever. Okay? Like, it leans in. Ever.
You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck.
And that is Ranger. Hey, Boa, what the hell is that? You do not shake the rat like that. Where did you even get that? I thought it was a pug. I was like, that's fucked up. Don't post that. I thought it was somebody grabbing a pug by the neck and shaking it. I was like, I knew there was a lot wrong with you, but god damn. So Rangers not being suggested to pull might seem bizarre, because their bread and butter is ranged attacks, right? So they're guaranteed to have a ranged weapon of some description. No Ranger worth their salt walks into this here Final Fantasy XI without a ranged weapon. They have wide scans, so they have their own special menu and function to pinpoint something that needs to die next and pull it back. But the thing that the game, one of the many things that the game doesn't tell you is that initial pulls. So a monster that is hit by anything for the first time from anything, the act of being the first person interfacing with a monster in that way creates a lot more hate than normal. So compounded with high damage ranged attacks, which already are taking off the monster on a regular basis, it's very hard to get hate control back from a ranger that's pulling. You should avoid having a ranger pulling at all costs, unless it's somehow literally the only option, and your only other options are like you have mages and that's it. The otherwise, if you're, like I said, if you're a mage of any description, you shouldn't be pulling, because you can't rest if you're pulling. It sucks. I have been a paladin who has tanked and pulled at the same time. It is awful. And even though I'm not really resting all that often, especially later on, it still feels bad. So we covered pullers, we covered tanks. Damage dealers the next. It's what's on the tin, just breaking it down into brass tacks. Damage dealers, any job with tools or weapons to hit monsters consistently and hard. Melee would be warriors, monks, dark knights, beastmasters, samurai, dragoon. Ranged would be black mages, rangers, and samurai. Some samurai are kind of like some samurai cosplay as ranged damage dealers, and there is functionality built into their kit that better allows that. Like, some bows are typically limited. Some strong bows can be limited to ranger or samurai only. I think, but don't quote me on this, that there is a bow that gets specific benefits from being handled by a samurai. Shigeru bow. I don't even know if that's like a real piece of equipment. You look it up. I'm not a samurai expert. But they could also be considered one. I had a samurai in a party once that made their whole thing being running up to the monster, slapping it around with their big fat katana, and then running away 20 meters out and doing like a slug, or not a slug shot, whatever the equivalent is. I don't remember what it's called. I should remember. I've seen it about 1 million times. But whatever the bow equivalent of slug shot is, that's what they were doing. Damage dealer can also be considered something like a thief, which is not a dedicated damage dealer job. You're not going to see many people out there, unless you're like a thief main that's trying to era plus it, saying that thief is like a dedicated damage dealer job. They're like a hybrid, like utility damage dealing thing. But it does decently big numbers, always have played well. And you can always, make up the difference with the equipment and high tier food and stuff like that. You have your support role, which are jobs able to buff parties in unique ways. As of this writing, Treasures of Ottergon is not out yet, and with Treasures comes an additional bespoke support job. But in current day, Chains from Emathia world, you have bards who buff the party with songs, AoE songs, and you have summoners who buff the party with blood packs, aka they summon a incarnation of like an element that's also like a deity. Not really specific on like the lore, okay, but they're like Garuda and Titan and Ifrit and all that stuff. And Mr. Rogers is also like a summon, but he's super secret, and you can only like access him by really digging deep into the code, okay, which is a very annoying and possibly bannable process. Hugin, if he's still here, understands. So it's bards and summoners as your support. Summoners can also be considered great sub healers. Okay, we'll get to that. True healers are white mage and red mage as of right now. White mage healing is their whole MO. That's what defines them. That's what they're good at. They get access to high tier healing, some spells being exclusive or sooner, and exclusive ways of curing debuffs. Like a race, as an example, or Kursna. I think Varuna is also exclusive to them. Red mages are get a lot of reasonably high tier healing, along with the ability to refresh themselves and other mages, which is a spell that they can use to give people a passive MP regeneration. They're also very good at debuffing. Debuffing is like one of their highest skills, so they're more often able to apply and have debuff stick for their full duration. You have your backup healers, which are like main healers if there's literally no other option. And that would, as apparently the only example that I have of a backup healer is Summoner, who can be main healers after 42. This is a hill that I'm currently still dying on repeatedly. I know that in some circles that is what qualifies as perhaps like the hottest take known to man, but I'm still pretty sure. I'm still pretty sure about it. Is it like good? No. Does Summoner get white magic natively? No. I'm accounting for my sins right now. I understand all this. But they do. You can't argue with me that they do in fact get certain tools that allow them to heal the group. Okay. And while they're not exactly pervasive or effective, and basically exist in that they're either healing way too much or healing too little for too much or too little MP respectively, they are able to heal in a pinch. If you get 2 summoners in a party because you can't find any white mages or red mages at all, your party will be fine. I can assure you of this. They have massive MP pools. They have auto refresh as a trait. Some summons and packs that can heal and cure debuffs. They can also spring water, which applies like refresh to themselves and other mages. They're just good. Okay. So let's say that you end up with the perfect party composition. All right, then you're good. Then you could just stop the guide here and go do whatever it is that you do when you're not paying attention to me speak. But very rarely are you ever going to be in a situation where it's all going to line up, that it's all going to come up Millhouse. You're going to get parties that are atypical. Basically like a blend of jobs that may only include some or maybe even one of the jobs that you would prefer to see. Players may include in their search comments the minimum level that they're willing to party at or around, or other roles that they require to be in the party before they'll accept an invite at all, which is typically like prospective party members being like, I'll only play the video game if I get a bard or a red mage for like the refresh or like the ease of pulling in the party. Like they're like, I want this specific experience, and they want any person that is going to be inviting me today to cater to my needs. that's the headspace, dude. It is, and like there's nothing in the rules to say that they can't be like this. I don't know why you would want to be like this, but there's nothing in the rules to say that you can't. All right. Ultimately, if you have A, someone that's willing to take the hits, B, 2 people willing to heal person A that's tanking, C, someone to pull things using whatever method they have available, and D, people that are able to damage the mob reliably, you have a party that is able to just go out there and do the thing. All right, that's at the end of the day, that's all that you need. Sometimes as a party leader, you're gonna have to deal with AFK looking for partiers. Pretty often people are gonna flag up and then they're just gonna go AFK and do other things while waiting for the sound of a tell, possibly inviting them to a party. They could be working on their interpretive dance. They could be washing their balls. That's typically a popular one. They could be playing, like, I don't know, like ball in a cup. Whatever the reason is, they're not there, even if they're flagged up, indicating that they're ready to throw down. Expect at least 30% of people that are currently looking for party, when you glance, to take at least 20 to 30 seconds to answer. They're gonna come back after they get their bag of Cheetos or whatever, and they're going to clear off all the pots and pans in front of their keyboard, and then press the plus key on their numpad in order to bring up the chat and then see if somebody told them. It's helpful for both you and anyone that's listening that's planning on partying in the future to add a search comment when you're trying to XP party. You go to menu, search, edit comment, experience party, enter, and then you put your expectations, such as like what your preferred level minimum is going to be, and anything else that you want possible party leads to know. Like, I want, like, I'll only accept parties if it's over this given level, like 40 plus. If you're like one of the people that I explained before, aka naughty and bad, you would include parties equal red mage / bard equals no thanks. Okay, basically saying like I will only party if the world caters to me. And you can also throw in there, I'm also able to party on other jobs, and then typically people give their level ranges for those jobs. We're gonna hop right into skill chain planning. Skill chains in this game are both wonderful and deeply cursed. I mean, I know that doesn't exactly narrow it down, because there's a lot of stuff that's in Final Fantasy 11 that can be described that way. But I'm gonna post 2 things in chat. For the first thing I'm gonna post, which is street legal to use, by the way, is the chains add-on. When you have this add-on in your add-ons folder, and you've done like in-game, you do like add-on /add-on load chains. When you are able to do a weapon skill, and someone in your party does a weapon skill on their own, if your weapon is capable of weapon skilling after the one that was used, and to make a skill chain and do like extra free damage and create like a special effect that mages are able to magic burst off of, it's going to tell you. It's going to tell you exactly what weapon skill you need to use in order to create whatever the skill chain is that it's describing. I'm also going to throw in a skill chain chart into chat. It's not a chart. Sorry. That's so there's lots of charts out there. I do not use charts. You will mind flood yourself 10 out of 10 times. This calculator is the closest thing that I've been able to find, and I'll put this in the description of the YouTube video at youtube.com/@simpleprostoic when the time comes. Okay. But without chains and without the skill chain calculator, even after playing this game for entirely too long and plotting probably hundreds of skill chains, I still, if I didn't have these tools, I would have no idea. I would have no idea what it is that that I'm trying to, well, like what the end state is. Like if a black mage is like, well, my strongest spell is Thunder 2 at the moment, I would have no idea. Using whatever tools that my current party has, how to result in a thunderable skill chain and make that happen. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to do it. Where to start? I wouldn't be able to say, okay, well, aside from happening to remember, like fast blade, and then you do like a loop-de-loop attack, right? And then it creates like a thunderable thing. Unless I happen to remember at the time, I'm always referencing chains and skill chains, or the skill chain calculator. In some cases, it's not necessarily worried about getting a skill chain in place, as such as like if party combinations and the party can't reliably end on a weapon skill that's particularly damaging, or if the rate at which the 2 to 3 people doing the skill chain builds TP, like the rate of building TP is so imbalanced between each other that it's causing more confusion than the damage it's dealing is worth, or the rate at which the mobs are dying is so incredibly fast that it's almost limiting the party, aka like the bird parties in Sky that I was mentioning before. But in most cases, it's absolutely worth it to plot skill chains. It's absolutely worth it to do it whenever the skill chain itself is ending on a weapon skill that's decently damaging, such as like Raging Fists from Monks, or Pennant Thrust from Dragoons, or Viper Bite from Thieves. It's always funnier than it should be for a thief that just turned 15 in Valkyrie Dunes to sneak attack whilst staying an enemy and have like 40% of its life or more deleted instantly. If the party includes a black mage, absolutely try to set up a skill chain if at all possible, as long as the skill chain itself is decently damaging like I described. Magic bursts are very valuable. Red mages, if they're also there and have the MP for it, they can also capitalize on them. Suggest a skill chain that you're thinking of to the party, including what its element is for the mages that may be there to take advantage or burst off of. The worst that can happen is that people just don't pay attention to it and aren't interested. The best that can happen is that the party feels more engaged in general because it's more complicated than I press button when I see number go up. But you also get free damage and you XP faster. I've never done 2 dueling banjos, right? I've never had a party that is exactly the same as another party that's right next to it for evaluation reasons, and run a parser between the two and have one do skill chains and the other one not do skill chains. I've never been in a position to categorically prove what I'm saying to you, but it feels better. Okay, it feels better to the point that I suggest always doing it if it's feasible to. The one thing that most new players struggle with is plotting camps. I'm gonna probably get about halfway through this before I have to run ads because Mr. Bezos needs his Bezos bucks. You can avoid ads in their entirety by subbing, which is free with Amazon Prime. So for camps, you want to spot check your camp using the search command. I'm going to put another link in chat that gives you the abbreviations that you're going to want to apply in order to look in a specific area. You can't just type out the name. You can't do like /search and then Beausoleil Oubliette, okay, as like a full name and have it show you anything. You have to put in the exact abbreviation that's looking for, which for Beausoleil Oubliette is hyper confusingly Beausoleil, but without the X. Okay, it needs to be. It cannot just enough. It needs to be the exact abbreviation or cutoff word that it's looking for. And you can find all those words for all the different areas in that link that I just posted, or in the description on YouTube. So you want to spot check your camp, and if it's a popular camp that you have in mind that has, say, like 1 or 2 party spots, and you see 6 people in the level range that you're also aiming for, it's likely, but not guaranteed, they're going to be at the first or second spot that you're thinking of. You can always ask the person that's going to have a yellow name if they're XPing or XPing and where, to be sure. If there's no groups, or maybe just one group in the place that you're thinking of, always go the extra mile and physically go to the area yourself. If you find the spot and it's clear, you've soft claimed it. Super quotation finger marks on that, in the sense that people who are also looking to party where you are will generally, in capitalization, respect that you were there first, and they should go elsewhere. There's nothing in the rules, that said, preventing anyone from starting a party near you as long as they're not griefing, such as like healing your party repeatedly or causing your mob to lose aggro, causing it to unclaim. It just makes them look like an ass, and reputation matters in this game that the vast majority respect space. So camp experimentation in your adventures around Vanadil. Make it a point of randomly checking areas that seem to have a good number of monsters, with possible empty areas nearby for camps to be set up at. Check, as in like use the actual check function, a few monsters using a tool like Checker, which is an add-on that's built into the launcher that tells you the exact level that the monster is at, to get an idea of their level range. Check, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 different monsters that happen to be out there. So the range, just as an example, we'll use 50 to 54. Take the number that's halfway between the minimum and the maximum, the minimum level and the maximum level that we just talked about, 50 and 54, and round it up if you need to. In this case, we don't. It's just 52. And then subtract 7 from it. In this example, it's like 45. This number, 45, can be your level sync target. So using that example, it ensures that the maximum level of the monster that you're going to be fighting is at most 9 from your current level, which is tolerable to kill, and at least 5 above, so that you're still killing it pretty fast, but you're also getting decent XP at the same time. It's a sweet spot, in my experience, 7-level difference between time invested in killing the thing and getting almost like 200 full experience from it. When you've seen a camp that looks possible, note down the position, the name of the map you're on, the level you probably need to be to get the most mileage out of it, and then when you've got a dozen or so parties led or made under your belt, get a party together and try it. Most players will be up to and interested in the new camp. Letting them know it's a new camp that you're testing will put them in the right headspace to wade through whatever growing pains might come out of it, like adjusting to the exact position of the camp or special pulling considerations, like if it's abhorrently annoying to pull and so on. What do I do if a Galco Black Mage invites me to a normal party? Ignore him? No, you wouldn't do that. You'd just be fine. If it was a Galco White Mage, it would make me hesitate. Not that there's anything wrong with playing a Galco and a Mage. I'm just saying is that it's left a impression that is probably not appropriate. Because it's like it was a one-time thing where I had a white mage. The fuck you saying? I'm just, dude. No, don't make this a thing. This isn't a thing. I'm teaching right now. All right. Let me. You can have the talking stick afterward, okay? And promise not to hit me with it. I had a Galco white mage that it was like level 20 or something. I think it was in like Tarangi Canyon or some shit. It was like level 17 to 19 or something. It was a good camp. But the Galco White Mage, oh, I'm going to do more than hit you with it. I have no idea what you're saying. I don't know if I need to TOS you or what. But just in case, mods, can I have Icy put in a 24-hour permanent ban just in case so he can't do anything to me? Oh, man. I know that you have dirt on me, so maybe I should shut up. But the white mage is only able to heal me twice, but that's like with 2 cures, and then he was basically out. Like that was all of his MP. There is this is going off topic, but there is equipment that you can use in order to, just as an example, on the flip side of the coin, let's say that you have like a paladin Taru, right? Taru pretty fragile. They have a low HP pool. Maybe they'll equip some stuff in the back end that makes up for that difference. And HP, like they have equipment that gives them like, I don't know, like 100 more HP than normal. It's same thing with Galca, is that just like the 2004 spring version of the Brady Games Guide aptly and correctly suggests, if the Galka mage gets hate, then they'll be fine, probably, because they have this massive HP pool that helps them endure getting slapped around, you know? Hi, Alyssa. Thank you so much for donating to the Real Human Stream Challenge and giving me something else to talk about than this subject that I keep looping back to. That brings a lot of ire into the chat. I have to finish this relatively quickly, this segment, and then we'll run ads. So you note down the possible position of the camp area, the name of the map you're on, the level you need to be to get the most mileage out of it. Let the people know that it's going to be a new camp and that to keep your expectations in check. And then that way they can bug out if they want to, if they need to, if they're not comfortable trying out a new party and they just want something normal, that's fine. That's their prerogative. It's their free time, or perhaps not free time if they're working. So, you know, if you have willing bodies, you can also possibly get willing bodies from Link Shell members. Link Shell members' tolerance for inter-shell shenanigans is typically a lot higher for that sort of thing. I've gone into many parties, or many situations, including one time in band camp where I turned my testimony farming for my paladin final cap unlock deep in the booty hole of Quadov territory, killing Quadov that took entirely too long to kill, and it wasn't a good XP party, but you know, people were there. They were down for it. They were down to do something different other than kill birds. But that's the end of this little segment here. I'm gonna run ads and refresh my coffee. I will be back in about 2 minutes on average. If you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, make sure you mash that follow button if you haven't already. It's an action that is free for you, but helps the channel out tremendously. I will be right back. Running ads now. Bye. All right, then I'm gonna press the button. BRB chat. I'm back. Hello. Let's turn down the music a little bit. I can never decide if I need my music at 33% or 30%. It's always a struggle. Cal, assuming that you're still here, I'm going to offer you, as a peace offering, some of my Pop Daddy Dutch apple pie pretzel sticks. And they are not very good, but they do taste like apple. For the first, I would say 2 seconds that they touch my taste buds, and then after that they turn into the indecipherable consumable mess that you get when you are playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and you combine 2 ingredients together that should never come in contact, ever. Where the fuck do you find this crap? All over the place, man. You just gotta open your eyes and see the possibility for yourself. It's all around you. It's like, okay, so you've seen Pocahontas, right? Like, okay, let me cook. All right, so you've seen Pocahontas, right? And you know that one scene that I'm very vaguely remembering when, you know, when Pocahontas is getting in touch with nature. And like all the plants and the animals and even the wind comes alive, and then it's like 5 minutes of just nonstop singing about like how wonderful life is without colonialism. And that's basically what it's like for me when I walk into the store. Is that you're basically like, you walk through the front door and then all you hear is like fluorescent light bulbs and, you know, this faded out, you know, loudspeaker talk that's happening, and like the country song that is absolutely beaten to death and is playing through every grocery store known to man at the same time. And you just walk to your milk section and then you pick up your milk, and then you know, I don't know what else it is that humans eat, but like you're basically you're A to B. But when I walk in there, it's like magic, man. I'm the best at finding really abstract shit. But yeah, I'm basically just saying, like, just open your eyes and do like a quick 360 every like 20 to 30 seconds that you're in whatever aisle you're in. You'll see stuff like this. Oh yeah, that is not good. I walk in, buy my shit, and walk out. I thought you said I buy my shirt and I walk out, and I'm like, I guess that some grocery stores would have shirts, wouldn't they? That's see Cal, this is why spending more time with me is for your own good, because like I open your eyes. All right, what were you talking about last time? Camp experimentation. We cleared that, I think. One very important thing for you to take note of is how the level sync penalty works. So if you, as far as I understand it, as from what has been explained to me, is that in the beginning there was an experience penalty that was applied, where for every level over 10, you are taking effectively a 2.5% experience hit, all the way up to 50% at the worst. From what it's been explained to me, it's that once you are 10 plus levels above whatever the level sync target is, you immediately get hit with the 50%. Somebody explained to me that it was because people were still writing the experience penalty way too long, that it just wasn't in the spirit of the whole intention of eventually graduating from areas and equipment and stuff like that. Whatever the reason, just assume that you should never try to invite someone who is either at the razor's edge of being 10 levels or above the level sync target, or especially is. It's going to, like, if you're doing it as like a favor to help players, which I've done before. I was teaching somebody how to party manage when they were basically brand new and were interested in it, and I was technically a level 74 paladin that level synced down to level, I think it was like a level 11 or something. And I got hit with the 50% experience, but there was nothing stopping me from doing that. In fact, if you're feeling very frisky and you really want to play with your friend, but you also want to get like some experience along the way, you can use something like your experience points chariot band in order to apply the 100% additional experience that it's giving you, and then that negates the 50% loss. And the math works out like this: is that let's say that you would get you're fighting a mob and it would normally give you 200 experience, right? It's appropriate for the level that you're at and so on and so forth. The game halves it. It hits you with the 50% experience points penalty. Any bonus from the experience points band applies after the fact, after all other calculations are applied. So it would take that 100 XP and apply, at least in the case of the chariot band, an additional 100% experience, so that then you would get 100% experience. So it lets you cope as if you're in a normal party, if it really comes to it. Why buy your own shit when it should be for free? They didn't want people to hit 75 in the dunes. They wanted people to branch out more on XP camps. That sounds right. I get it. I think currently I'm totally fine with them being like, yeah, if you are 10 levels or above, you're just gonna get hit with the XP penalty, and that's just how it's gonna be, man. So let's go over the strategy for dealing with that. You want to avoid playing around camps that require you to be more than 9 levels synced down. You want to avoid playing around camps where people 9 levels or higher than you would need to sync down. So a good example of the type of command that you want to enter into the chat in order to have a breakdown in the window pop up of all the people that could, all the possibilities for you as far as partying goes. You could do /C all 40, like let's just say that you're level 50. You could do /C all 41 to 59 invite. That would give you the full range of possibilities on where you can go, because you can either let yourself be the sync target, which is honestly preferable, IMO, because then you control whether you leave or not. It doesn't exactly feel good when you are reliant on a level sync, a specific person for level sync, and they're like, yeah, sorry, emergency ball washing has to happen. I know I only fought like 3 mobs, but I gotta go. My balls need me. And then they just go, and then the party either has to hope that there's another level appropriate sync just floating around, or if there's not, then you just break or discuss going to another camp, and it's wasted time, and so on and so forth. There's talk on laxing that in the future. I would be fine with 15 levels. I think that anything more than 15 is probably excessive. I think that 10 is fine. I've had no issues playing around it. The population is really strong, so it's maybe there's only been one time ever where I've tried to make a party and literally just couldn't for like 30 minutes. Let's see. So let's talk about party communication. One of the most subjective things, and yet the most asked about as far as like new players go. There's the invite tell. Unlike other MMOs, most current MMOs, there is no dungeon finder. I'm watching my audio to make sure that it's not too loud. I'm gonna lower it a tick. Lower the music a tick, rather. In this game, you have to party with other people by talking to them, agreeing on what it is that you're trying to do, and by their willingness, go with God with 5 other peoples to go and kill monsters. There's no menu that you can let yourself filter through. There's no queue. There's no dungeon finder. Nothing like that. It is all person driven, which is scary, but there is kind of like a cheat code way of giving people all the information that they should need to be interested or not. And that is, you reach out to the person, you do /tell after doing your quick find for invitable people, and you say hello, level sync number, which is like the level sync that you're planning around, which could be the person that you're reaching out to first to ensure that you have your sync target in place, or it could be you. You tell them what the area is, aka what map you're on, what the exact position is, so that they know where in the map you are without needing to be invited at, for example, they need to do something first and they're not ready to be invited yet because they need to be teleported somewhere. And any other details, like Garland Citadel, I'm in the basement. Or the party is at XYZ in Boyota Tree, we're by the waterfall. Some kind of landmark that may help them tell at a glance where they are, so you don't have to repeatedly check their map if you're feeling particularly kind. And then you could include other need-to-know stuff, such as if there are no ninjas or paladins that want to play the video game or can play the video game, and you find a warrior, you just in your statement to them, you say you may need to tank if it matters. Or if it's like there are no thieves, which I know never happens, but just in this freak example, just let me cook, just bear with me. If there are no thieves and it's only like a samurai that's available, then you say you'd be pulling if it matters. Or if it's like 2 summoners, because there are no white mages or red mages, which is a very real thing because a lot of them are stolen a good portion of the time for burn parties. You say you'd be main healing if it matters. You tell the person what level, the map you're on, where you are on the map, a landmark if needed, and what might also be expected, just to put a pin in it. Do not, chat, do not hit them with a XP question mark and then no other information. Do not invite somebody with no communication, like just blind inviting them, like going into their name in the menu, hitting enter, and then pressing invite. Do not do that. It's at worst annoying for the person receiving it, and at best time wasting because they're gonna have to ask you, okay, where? What level am I supposed to be at? Should I bring sub ninja or not? just don't do it. And do not, I cannot stress this enough, this is the last like exclamation point, emphasis, underlined, italicized, bolded, do not here. Do not tell someone on a job that you prefer to have in your party if they're not flagged up, or if they don't have a search comment suggesting that they might be interested. It's just annoying to get a blind invite. It sometimes happens that people have their flag up accidentally. But it's rare that people don't have their flag up when they actually mean to. It is. I have never heard, maybe one person, maybe literally that one guy, maybe one guy out of like the hundreds of people out there that are playing like Bard and Paladin and Red Mage. Maybe one of them likes it. One of them likes like getting basically like door-to-door salesman, or cold called for a party when they're just filling their AH with like mushroom stew or whatever for the 5 seconds that they're on. You're gonna want to do a time replacement check when the party is underway. Many, not all, but many parties typically wind down around the 3-hour mark. Sometimes parties can be short as 2 hours, sometimes they can run as long as 4 hours, but generally speaking, sanity starts to wane and people start to zone out at around the 3-hour mark. They then start thinking about getting a replacement for themselves, and this is because people don't often ask the party how long it intends to keep going. They just typically ask the party leader, I need to go soon, do you want me to find a rep for myself? Or they just say I need to go soon. So around the 2-hour mark or the 1-hour mark, if you only have a couple of hours to burn, simply ask the party, how is everyone doing on time? It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. Just that is fine. How is everyone doing on time? Most people are going to respond. The people that don't respond typically don't have any particular time constraints in mind. And if you feel like you yourself have about an hour before you should go, make sure to tell the party I have about an hour left in me. If you're constrained, it likely means that others are too. On mentioning this, it's likely that other party members are going to agree, and the party can then naturally end when the time comes, and everyone can feel good about it, or mostly good about it. If somebody needs to leave sooner than expected, they should give you a response. If you yourself have more time than the person suggested, ask the party, how about everyone else? I want to avoid getting a replacement, unless we can give the replacement at least an hour of XP from the time that they get here. So people, on hearing that, are either going to respond by agreeing that ending sooner than normal is fine, or most are going to say they're fine for longer. When getting a replacement for the person leaving, you want to make sure that you're telling the replacement you're repping XYZ person if it matters, and we're expecting to run at least another hour from the time that you get here. Is that okay? Some people are going to say, I can do about an hour, that's fine. Other people are going to be like, I'm just going to wait until I get a normal party invite because I really want to get at least 2 to 3 hours in. This avoids bad blood and what I lovingly refer to as a replacement carousel, which is a party that is devolving into a mix of people that have been replaced at various times, that are in varying mixes of tiredness and freshness. They have varying experience. They have varying amounts of time that they can be there. It's not healthy. It's not good for a party to become that. So it should be avoided at all costs. You want to account for the puller's sanity. So if the puller has been going for a long time and no longer the normal party or mentions out loud that they're not a fan of it, reach out to a party member that could possibly swap in for them if needed, to give them a break. And that could be something as simple as saying to, like, if you have like a thief that's been pulling and they say out loud, I like thief, or I need to get thief done, I hate pulling, I hate that I'm expected to pull all the time, then you can reach out via tells probably to like the Dark Knight or whatever and say, hi, if it comes to it, are you comfortable with swapping in for the puller and or in a bit to pull and give them a break? Most people are fine with that and they're understanding. At the very least, it's going to show the puller that you care about them and make their job of neurotically grabbing monsters for hours on end a little bit more tolerable. Sometimes you're going to get the rare troll or sweatlord, someone that is very abrasive or aggressive or very neurotic. You need to be prepared to remove people like that from the party. You cannot avoid these people. As rare as they are, they will appear in any game, no matter how old or how new it is. They exist to be used as character building opportunities for yourself. All right, a person like that is a psychic damage generator that, if left long enough, will encourage people to look for replacements for themselves or force disconnect if the person is psychotic enough. If the person continues intels or like just say chat after you remove them from the party, blacklist them and encourage the party to do the same. Do not feed the player attention. Do not reciprocate. Just calmly remove them and look for a replacement for the person if you've done the time check above, you know, where it's like, how is everyone doing on time, and check that everyone's still good for a while. My final we've been going for like an hour and 20 minutes and it has not felt like it. For the people that have been here willingly that long and got something out of it, at least hopefully got something out of it, I appreciate you. After this, we're going to try to make a party ourselves to really capitalize on this stuff. My final recommendation to you as a prospective party creator and leader is to embrace fate. Love fate. Despite best efforts in you having a preferred party composition and your parties are well-adjusted citizens, and effective communication is happening, the party's XP may be slower than expected. Or people may randomly disconnect, sometimes repeatedly. Or people may die more than normal. You're going to have those parties that are going to blow your mind as far as possibilities go. That you're going to be swimming in experience. For the entirety. It's going to be so good that you're like, I don't need to work tomorrow. I'll just push this thing as hard as I can. There's going to also be parties where it's going to be awful. The tank is going to be dying repeatedly. They're not going to be paying full attention to all the tools that they have, or proper attention to the tools that they have in order to keep themselves or those around them alive. The healer is going to be watching like Netflix. They're going to be like binge watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, and maybe, you know, reacting fast enough to sometimes keep people alive. You're gonna be in those positions. And it's all about trying to make it always a little bit better the next time. But that's it. That's what I got. Thank you for listening to the spiel. We're gonna go back to Juno now.